Hare नाम संकीर्तन की जय, ग्रंथ राज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
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 नारायणं नमस्कृत्य
नारायणं नमस्कृत्य
नरं चैव नरोत्तमं
नरं चैव नरोत्तमं
देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं
देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं
ततो जयमुदीरये।
ततो जयमुदीरये।
नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु
नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु
नित्यं भागवत सेवया
नित्यं भागवतसेवया
भगवती उत्तमश्लोके
भगवति उत्तमश्लोके
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी।
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी।
So we're reading from Canto 5, Chapter 1, the activities of Maharaj Priyavat, text 30. So I'll just read this verse and then we'll read, chant word to word. Yavat avabhasayati suragirim anuparikraman bhagavan adityo vasudhatalam ardhenaiva pratapatya ardhena vachadayati tadahi bhagavat upasanayo pachitati purusha prabhavastat anabhinandan samajavena rathena jyotirmayena rajani apidinam karishyamiti saptakrit vastarinim anuparyakramat dvitiya iva patangah. What word meaning? Yavat, so long. Avabhasayati, illuminates. Suragirim, the Sumeru hill. Anuparikraman, by circumambulating. Bhagavan, the most powerful. Aditya, sun god. Vasudhatalam, the lower planetary system. Ardhena, by half. Eva, certainly. Pratapati, makes dazzling. Ardhena, by half. Avachadayati, covers with darkness. Tada, at that time. He, certainly. Bhagavat Upasana, by worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Upachita, by satisfying him perfectly. Ati Purusha, superhuman. Prabhavaha, influence. Tad, that. Anabhinandan, without appreciating. Samajavena, by equally powerful. Rathena, on a chariot. Jyotihi Mayena, dazzling. Rajani, night. Api, also. Dinam, day. Karishyami, I shall make it. Iti, thus. Saptakrit, 7 times. Vastarini, exactly following the orbit of the sun. Anuparya Kramat, circumambulated. Dvitiyaha, second. Eva, light. Patangaha, sun. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Translation. While so excellently ruling the universe, King Priyavat once became dissatisfied with the circumambulation of the most powerful sun god. Encircling Sumeru hill on his chariot, the sun god illuminates all the surrounding planetary systems. However, when the sun is on the northern side of the hill, the south receives less light, and when the sun is in the south, the north receives less. King Priyavrat disliked this situation and therefore decided to make daylight in the part of the universe where there was night. He followed the orbit of the sun god on a brilliant chariot and thus fulfilled his desire. He could perform such wonderful activities because of the power he had achieved by worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. There is a Bengali saying which describes that someone is so powerful that he can make night day and day night. That saying is current because of the prowess of Priyavrat. His activities demonstrate how powerful he became by worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Krishna is known as Yogeshwara, the master of all mystic powers. In Bhagavad Gita 1878 it is said, wherever there is the master of all mystic powers, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, victory, fortune and other opulences are present. Devotional service is so powerful. When a devotee achieves what he wants to accomplish, it is not by his own mystic power, but by the grace of the master of the mystic power, Lord Krishna. By his grace, a devotee can accomplish wonderful things unimaginable even to the most powerful scientist. From the description in this verse, it appears that the sun moves according to the modern. It appears that the sun moves. According to modern astronomers, the sun is fixed in one place, surrounded by the solar system. But here we find that the sun is not stationary. It is rotating in a prescribed orbit. This fact is corroborated by Brahma Samhita. Yasyagnya brahmati samdhata kala chakraha. The sun is rotating in its fixed orbit in accordance with the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. According to Jyotirveda, the science of astronomy, in the Vedic literature, the sun moves for 6 months on the northern side of the Sumeru hill and for 6 months on the southern side. We have practical experience on this planet that when there is summer in the north, there is winter in the south and vice versa. Modern materialistic scientists sometimes present themselves as knowing all the ingredients of the sun, yet they are unable to offer a second sun like Maharaj Priyavrat's. Although Maharaj Priyavrat devised a very powerful chariot as brilliant as the sun, he had no desire to compete with the sun god, for a Vaishnava never wants to supersede another Vaishnava. His purpose was to give abundant benefits in material existence. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks that in the months of April and May, the rays of Maharaj Priyavrat's brilliant sun were as pleasing as the rays of the moon. And in October and November, both morning and evening, that sun provided more warmth than the sunshine. In short, Maharaj Priyavrat was extremely powerful and his actions extended his power in all directions. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guruho Shri Jatapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Nitinamane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratushe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhano Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pamunam nihete yat kripatam vande Shri Guru Linatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. So we're discussing from chapter 1 the activities of Maharaj Priyavrat. So till now we have seen the description given about the sons of Priyavrat and how great they were. And now the progress of Priyavrat Maharaj is discussed. It is so nice on the day of Ekadashi, our entire schedule is autopilot. We have to attend Mangalarti, chanting, Bhagavatam class. I remember when I was back at home, before joining ashram. So we have to plan separately. Okay, today I have to attend Bhagavatam class. I have to chant extra rounds. Okay, I have to go for Mangalarti. So this is the glory of staying in the association of devotees. It automatically just happens. And we will not realize also. So it will automatically happen. In autopilot mode, it will just go on. But as I always say, if we are not conscious of what we are doing, we might not get the benefit of what we are doing. Such wonderful opportunities will just be wasted. So this Bhagavatam class is also, yesterday also I was telling in one of the discussion, that it's a reminder for us every single day to be conscious of our activities. And it's a reminder to open our eyes and see the world in reality and not be in illusion all the time. Here we have very wonderful things to learn from this particular purport. So Vaishnavas are really unique and different. Look at Priyavrat Maharaj. He's saying, Shukadeva Goswami is describing, while so excellently ruling the universe, King Priyavrat once became dissatisfied with the circumambulation of the most powerful sun god. Encircling Sumeru hill on his chariot, the sun god illuminates all the surrounding planetary systems. However, when the sun is on the northern side of the hill, the south receives less light, and when the sun is in the south, the north receives less. King Priyavrat disliked the situation and therefore decided to make daylight in the part of the universe where there was night. He followed the orbit of the sun god on a brilliant chariot and thus fulfilled his desire. He could perform such wonderful activities because of the power he had achieved by worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So one of the quality of a devotee is avyakta kalatvam. He does not like to waste time. To such an extent that he does not want night also, to sleep. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was performing his Sankirtan Leela, so when they started Sankirtan, the day one, when he came from Gaya, so they did the morning Sankirtan on the streets. And everyone was like very jubilant, very ecstatic, very happy. And when the sun was setting, so at that time they were all morose, thinking, oh, now we have to stop the Sankirtan. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then made a statement. Why are we wasting time at night sleeping? Let's do Sankirtan at night also. And then all of them came to the house of Srivas Thakur and Srivas Angan. And they had ecstatic nocturnal Kirtans. So in this way we understand that when it comes to the Vaishnavas, they don't like to waste time, even at night. It's very difficult to comprehend that they don't want to sleep. So you can imagine that they've got so much of taste in devotional service that they don't want to sleep at night also. They find sleeping as waste of time. You can understand from the pastime of Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktivinoda. Just sleep little bit and resume the services. And for us, we'll sleep and then little services. And what to do? We are on the bodily platform completely. If the body is not properly taken care, we cannot render service. So we have to sleep for minimum 5 to 6 hours. So here, Priyavrat Maharaj, he wanted to do good to others. So when the sun is on the northern side, the south side will be the hemisphere, the southern hemisphere will not get the light. And it's obvious that when the sun is on the southern side, the northern hemisphere will not get the light. So Priyavrat Maharaj, he wanted to make sure that light is there all the time everywhere. He wanted to do good to people. He wanted material prosperity to happen on this planet. Here it is said, there is a Bengali saying which describes that someone is so powerful that he can make the night day and the day night. That saying is current because of the prowess of Priyavrat. So it's very nice that in India all those sayings come from Srimad Bhagavatam. If not all, at least most of it. We'll find some of the other place, some of the other verse, we'll talk about that particular saying. And here we understand where is this coming from. So it's coming from the comparison with Priyavrat Maharaj's prowess. His activities demonstrate how powerful he became by worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Krishna is known as Yogeshwara and the master of all mystic powers. So, when a devotee worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, he becomes powerful. Like for example, Dhruv Maharaj. So Dhruv Maharaj was meditating on the Lord. He was standing on the tip of his toe and he was holding his breath. It is described that the weight of Dhruv Maharaj on the planet was such that it was feeling as if he has taken the weight of the entire creation. In fact, his weight was equivalent to the entire creation. And it is described that the earth was getting suppressed. It's very difficult to imagine also. 5-year-old boy weight is equivalent to that of the entire creation. And since he stopped breathing, it is described that all the living entities had to stop breathing. In that particular verse, it is described that since Dhruva was meditating on the Lord with one-pointed focus, whatever he was doing was affecting the entire universe because he was having Lord with himself. It was almost like Lord acting. It was almost like Lord acting. Obviously, Dhruva didn't become God, but then it was almost like God acting. So it's very nice to note that when someone worships the Lord, he becomes powerful. But then we also see that people like Ravana, people like Hiranyakashipu, they also worshipped demigods and they also became very powerful. Maybe given a chance, Ravan could have also made a sun or moon. You never know. So how is it different then? When someone is worshipping the Lord, he becomes powerful. Here it's all about material platform we're talking about. We're not talking about spiritual platform. Then even Priyavrat Maharaj worshipped Lord and then he became powerful. And Ravan worshipped Lord Shiva and this Hiranyakashipu worshipped Brahma and he also became powerful. So in this way, how to understand that only by worshipping the Lord will become powerful. Now we understand when it comes to Ravan. So since it was Dashara and we were discussing about Ram, so we can discuss that in context. So when Lord Ram was shooting arrows at Ravan, initially though when his head was getting cut, all his heads were emerging back from the body. But then with time, when Lord Ram started shooting some special arrows and one ultimate Brahmastra, so at that time Ravan had to leave his body, so about to die. So Lord Shiva and Parvati, they are there in their respective, they're in their abode. And Parvati is saying, your devotee is being killed. Go and do something, go and help him. And Lord Shiva is like, what can I do? My master is killing him, I cannot do anything. So here we understand that the prowess, the power that the demigods give is temporary. It cannot last long. They themselves cannot save. Even when it comes to Chaitanya Leela, we see this personality, Digvijay Pandit, he could defeat anyone and everyone by the mercy of Saraswati. Whenever he would start speaking, it is described, it was so powerful, so eloquent, so amazing. Why? Because Saraswati herself will sit on the tongue of this personality, Digvijay Pandit. But then, when there was an argument with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, on the banks of Ganga, so at that time when Lord started speaking, he didn't have words to speak. And then when he went back to his room, he started calling out to Saraswati Devi and he's like, why you didn't speak through me today? And then Saraswati Devi, she revealed that what to do. My master was arguing from the other side, how can I speak? And then she revealed that how Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. So in this way we see that different Devi Devatas can give power, but as it is described in Bhagavad Gita also, it is temporary, it cannot last long. But when Supreme Personality of Godhead gives the power, It is there eternal. It becomes eternal. It is there with the devotee eternally. Now here it is said, Lord Krishna is known as Yogeshwara, the master of all mystic powers. In Bhagavad Gita it is said, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partho Dhanurdhara, Tatra Sri Vijayo Bhutir Dhruva Nitir Matirmama. 18th chapter, 78th shloka. So it is said, wherever there is the great mystic, that is Krishna, Yogeshwara, and wherever there is great archer or a warrior like Arjuna, there these four wonderful things will manifest. And those are victory, fortune, and extraordinary power, and so many other things. Morality, basically. So these are the four things. So it described here, devotional service is so powerful. When a devotee achieves what he wants to accomplish, it is not by his own mystic power, but by the grace of the master of the mystic power, Lord Krishna. By his grace, a devotee can accomplish wonderful things unimaginable even to the most powerful scientist. So wherever Prabhupada gets an opportunity to beat the scientists, he'll take the broomstick and start beating them nicely. So here, we have to understand that how powerful the devotional service is. Ravana did so much of tapasya for so many celestial years. But then, he was killed. And before he getting killed, he encountered his own son, Prahlad. Prahlad was just 5 years old. And when Hiranyakashipu tried his best to kill Prahlad, throwing him from the cliff of the mountain, throwing him in the ocean, in the pit of snakes, beneath the elephants, and in the fire, so many different things. And he was trying to poison also at one point. So when all that was done, and nothing happened to Prahlad, at that time, this great personality, Hiranyakashipu, who did tapasya for many years and got powers from Brahma, he was very fearful looking at the 5-year-old innocent boy who was just folding his palms and chanting Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So you can just imagine that this personality was just doing devotional service, the 5-year-old boy. And the devotional service is so powerful that the great personality, that is Hiranyakashipu, when this Narasimhadev appeared and he's asking Prahlad, you ask me something. And at that time Prahlad is saying, what will I ask? My father had so much of power that just by twisting his eyebrows, the demigods will shiver. Just by his look and glance at the sun, the temperature of the sun could be adjusted. He had so much of power, but in one stroke you killed him. In one stroke all his material prowess was removed. What is the use of such material prowess? So in this way we understand Hiranyakashipu was so strong, so very strong. But then what to do? It didn't work. In front of his son, so young, just 5 years old, he became very fearful to such an extent that the teachers got to know, Shanda and Amarka got to know that Hiranyakashipu is becoming fearful. And then they are pacifying him. Don't worry, things will be fine. We will take care of him. We will wait for our father to come back, Shukracharya. And once he comes back, by his speech, he'll be all proper. The point that I'm trying to make here is that devotional service is very powerful. And the devotees who are rendering devotional service, they become very fearless. They become very fearless. And with that fearless mood, they can accomplish great tasks. Very great tasks. Now if someone is achieving something great, so it is not that it's because of, one's own power, but because of the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is a very important point to note. In Shastra it is said, Krishna Shakti Vina Nahitara Pravartan. Without Krishna's Shakti, without Krishna's empowerment, we cannot achieve anything great in this world, not possible. Srila Prabhupada in one of the lectures he was saying that Jesus Christ, he preached for some years, couple of years, for the pleasure of the Lord, so he became successful. Prophet Muhammad preached for a couple of decades for the pleasure of the Lord, so he became successful. Our humble self are also trying to do the same. And the result was known. So Srila Prabhupada, we can see that how Srila Prabhupada's all his activities, He was rendering just to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And we can see the empowerment on this personality, Srila Prabhupada. It's very nice to analyze Srila Prabhupada's preaching every now and then because that gives a lot of hope. So when it comes to Srila Prabhupada's preaching, he was not a youth to go around, run around and do pass distribution. He didn't have so much of energy and power or bodily strength. And when it comes to his health, health also had a lot of problems. A lot of health issues were there. Okay, then maybe he had a lot of money. No, he didn't have money also. Okay, maybe he had a plan to execute when he goes to West. Oh, he didn't have plan. On the Jaladuta, he's writing the song saying, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. So he's clueless of what he's supposed to do. Okay, maybe the people on the other side were very receptive and they were very eager to receive Krishna consciousness. Oh, they didn't know who Krishna is. Forget about receiving Krishna consciousness. So nothing was favorable to Srila Prabhupada when it comes to preaching in West. But then his selfless, sincere desire to execute the instruction of the spiritual master pleased Lord Krishna, by which he was empowered. And we can see how our empowered Acharya did miracle in the West. So Krishna Shakti Vina Nahital Pravartan. Without Krishna's mercy, nothing in this world can happen. Nothing in this world can happen. So any person who is doing any great activity, we have to understand that it is only possible by the mercy of the Lord, otherwise it is not possible. Even for that matter, even a materialist when he does something great, we need to understand it is possible only by the mercy of the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, Krishna is saying, Yad yad vibhuti matsattvam Srimad urjitam evava tat tat evava gachatvam Mama tejomsha sambhava. So he's saying, oh Arjuna, whatever great things you see in this world are just spark of my splendor. So whatever great we see, let's say a person is very strong, or is very handsome or beautiful, very good at singing, very good at speaking, very good at doing some artistic work. Whatever good we see in this world, any person, immediately we should remember, oh, this quality is just spark of the splendor of Supreme Personality of Godhead. So whatever we see in this world, great, very great things, it actually gives us an opportunity to remember Krishna. That's why Krishna is telling in 10th chapter, in so and so group, that great personality is me. In so and so group, that great personality is me. Why is he saying that? He is helping us to understand that whatever great we see in this world, we are getting an opportunity to remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, when Prabhupada says that we should be always Krishna conscious, he gives various examples. He says, when you drink water, when you taste water, remember Krishna because the taste of water is non-different from Krishna. Whenever you see great personalities, remember Krishna because their greatness is non-different from that of the greatness of the Lord. So in this way, these all different great personalities around us, they give an opportunity for us to understand that this is just spark of the splendor of my Lord. Then just imagine what will the splendor of my Lord. It helps us to understand the greatness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as we always say, that only when we understand the greatness of the Lord, it will be possible for us not to surrender unto the Lord, or it's not possible. Prabhupada, in many of his lectures, he says, many people say God is great, but how great He is, people don't know. Because once they understand how great He is, then it's very easy for them to surrender unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And here we see what greatness or how empowered Priyavrata Maharaj was. From the description in this verse, it appears that the sun moves. According to modern astronomers, the sun is fixed in one place, surrounded by the solar system. But here we find that sun is not stationary. It is rotating in a prescribed orbit. This fact is corroborated by Brahma Samhita. Yasyagna Brahmati Samvrata Kala Chakraha. The sun is rotating in its fixed orbit in accordance with the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. According to Jyotirveda, the science of astronomy, in the Vedic literature, the sun moves for 6 months on the northern side of Sumeru hill and for 6 months on the southern side. We have practical experience on this planet that when there is summer in the north, there is winter in the south and vice versa. Modern materialistic scientists sometimes present themselves as knowing all the ingredients of the sun, yet they are unable to offer a second sun like Maharaj Priyavrat. So here it's very astonishing to read this that Priyavrat Maharaj created a sun which was much better than the original sun. That's what a devotee can do. So he created a chariot which was much more effulgent and brilliant as compared to the sun, the existing sun. So here we understand clearly from the Shastra that how the modern science is still not able to understand how this entire universe is working. So when it comes to the modern science, it says that sun is stationary and all the planets are moving in the orbit. So here it's very clear that sun is not stationary, sun is moving. And all the planetaries are actually stationary. No, they are not moving. They might rotate, but they are not revolving anywhere, right? And this will be very clear in the coming chapters, where there's elaborate description about the entire material creation, about the 14 planetary systems, or to be more precise, the Bhumandala, which is discussed very, very nicely. And here, one nice point that Prabhupada is making is that the scientists are claiming that they know all the ingredients of the sun, but they are unable to make the sun. So max to max, what a mortal being can do? Mortal being can just create a degraded version of the sun, and that is the bulb. So that is there. They cannot go beyond that. It's very difficult. Because to understand what is the temperature of the sun and to create the temperature on this planet, maybe then this planet cannot exist. It is described if Earth moves from its orbit, little bit, according to modern science. If the Earth moves a little bit from its orbit, away from its existing orbit, it will get freezed. And if it goes a bit close, to the sun, little bit, it will get burnt. So you can imagine how great or how strong the sun is when it comes to its temperature, when it comes to heat and light. And Priyavrat Maharaj's greatness we can see here. After all, he is the son of Swayambhuva Manu, who is the son of Brahma. So you can see all these great personalities who are devotees of the Lord, that how strong they are materially also. I was hearing in one class that these all great personalities were really very great. So when we say great, we have to understand their greatness, how great they were. So Swayambhuva Manu, we can imagine, he was that one personality, he was given the task of filling this entire universe with population. So he had that task to do. But at the same time, he had his responsibilities at home. What was the responsibility at home? He had his daughters, whom he is supposed to get married. So Devahuti, when her marriage turn came, so Swayambhuva Manu personally took her on the chariot and they went all around the universe searching for a good match. Then they came across Kardamamani and that's how he got her married. Can you imagine? He had time for the entire world and he also had time for his family. In this world we see, if you have time for the family, then it's very difficult to give time for the entire world. Forget about the entire world, few people outside. And when you are serving the society, it's very difficult to give time in the family. The greatness of these people we can see, which we can relate to, because creating a son and all we cannot relate to. At least this we can relate. The greatness of these personalities, they are able to do everything perfectly, inside, outside the family. Here it is said, although Maharaj Priyavrat devised a very powerful chariot as brilliant as the sun, he had no desire to compete with the sun god, for Vaishnav never wants to supersede another Vaishnav. This is another very important thing that is spoken here. A very important thing, I would request you all to please hear this carefully. See, when it comes to devotional service, there is no competition. What do you mean by competition? Competition means there is one position, there is one place, and there are multiple aspirants for that. And all of them are competing to get that one position. That is called as competition. In this world, it's cutthroat competition, currently. So there's only one position and then everyone wants that particular position or whatever. Now in colleges, they have seat. And in the government offices, they have the various designations. So, like that. There's one position, one designation, one seat, and then there are multiple aspirants who are there. Then there is a question of competition. But in devotional service, we need to understand that all of us, we have a unique relationship with Krishna. And all of us, we have a unique position in the spiritual world. So never it is possible that there is a position which is there, which belongs to me, and some other devotee who did much better than me in devotional service, he went and occupied my position. No, it's not possible. Because all of us, we have a unique relationship with Krishna. Unique. So in the devotee association, when someone is doing nice devotional service, so there is no point in becoming envious of the devotee because that devotee can never take our position. Our position is unique. Our entire relationship with Krishna is unique. So there is no question of replacement in devotional service. This is the thing that we can meditate on, and this will give us a lot of solace to be peaceful and stable in devotional service. The contamination of the outside world we get in the devotee association also. What is the contamination? Contamination is, oh, I have to do better than that person. Then I will be recognized. But in spiritual life, in devotional service, who is that personality who is recognizing? Is he the same personality like in the material world, the mortal being, who does not have any vision to see what the person feels and what the person is doing internally, or what is his thought process? Max to max, the mortal being of the outside world who is called as a boss, he can just see that externally how much accomplishment that the person can do, or the person can get. But he cannot understand how much endeavor he has put, he cannot understand what was his feeling, what was his mood, why this particular thing happened. No, he cannot. But when it comes to Krishna consciousness, the personality or the real boss who is actually seeing everything, what we are doing, is Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. And he is Bhavagrahi Janardhana. He is there as Super Soul in everyone's heart. He knows each and everything that we are thinking and the thing that we are planning. So we have to understand here that maybe the other person might not understand, maybe the other devotee might not understand, but my feelings Krishna can understand why I am doing this particular thing in so and so way. Right? So there is no competition here. Can you see? Is there any competition? There is no competition at all between devotees. In fact, our main goal is to please Krishna. And you know when Krishna will be pleased? When we rejoice in the success of other devotee. Then Krishna will be very pleased. Because finally what we are doing, we are patting the other devotee and we are saying, oh, so nice. You are able to render such nice devotional service to Krishna. Krishna will be so pleased with you. If this dialogue comes from the heart instead of just the lips, Krishna will be very, very pleased. Because he will see that wonderful mood of the Vaishnava. Because a Vaishnava will always help the other Vaishnava to get closer to Krishna. That's what is the mood of a Vaishnava. This all comes from Srimati Radharani. So Srimati Radharani, whenever a new devotee goes, maybe from here, when a devotee goes not to the spiritual world, Srimati Radharani will push the devotee towards Krishna, telling Krishna, Krishna, he is much better than me. Please accept his or her service. So in the devotee association, this is the ideal behavior that is expected. That one devotee pushes the other devotee towards the Lord. That's why Srila Prabhupada would call this movement as pushing movement. Everyone is pushing each other towards the Lord. But when the contamination of the material world comes into the association of devotees, we start pushing people away from the Lord. We start pushing people, in a very, very abominable way, which is not proper in the Vaishnava community. So this meditation should be there, that okay, I am doing this service, I am giving 100%. That devotee is doing some service, that devotee is giving 100%. And there is no comparison between the two. Then where is the question of envy? Why should I be jealous? Why should I be envious? In fact, we can always see how I can assist that devotee in his service to the Lord. That is something which is expected, that is something which is desirable. Otherwise, competing with other devotees is not something which is desirable. And I'm sure all of us might have experienced. It's not that just by one class this competition mode will go away or enviousness will go away, which is there from time immemorial in all of us. So we all can notice in ourselves, when we are envious of some devotee, when we are comparing ourselves with some devotee, what happens? We get agitated, we become unstable, and we are not able to render devotional service. So who is in loss? We are in loss. Ultimately we are in loss. because of the comparison, because of the enviousness. So we have to understand this very clearly that we are in the Vaishnava association and we shouldn't have any desire to. Okay. So in Vaishnava association, a Vaishnav never wants to supersede another Vaishnav because he understands that both of them have a unique place when it comes to their relationship with the Lord and their service to the Lord. So there is no question of competing and there is no question of superseding some devotee and proving oneself, see how great I am better than that devotee. So this understanding, this realization will keep us peaceful in devotee association, will help us to progress in our path, in our own life in devotional service, and will be able to please Krishna. Because with this understanding, we'll be able to assist other devotees in their service. And this will surely please Krishna a lot. Finally, few lines towards the end. Again, it's an information, not much explanation needed. His purpose was to give abundant benefits in material existence. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks that in months of April and May, the rays of Maharaj Priyavrat's brilliant sun were as pleasing as the rays of the moon. Now again, it's very difficult to understand how it is. So the sun is giving pleasing rays. And next is, in October and November, both morning and evening, the sun provided more warmth than the sunshine. In short, Maharaj Priyavrat was extremely powerful and his actions extended his power in all directions. Any questions? Any comments?
Any practical ways to assist devotee to get closer to Krishna? What we can personally?
Practical ways to assist devotees in
Their progress.
their progress. One thing in devotee association is if we can speak nicely with devotees, that is something which is very nice. That itself will encourage the devotees. Sometimes when our mood is not proper, we might not speak properly with people, we might not give our attention. So at least if that much we can do, speak some good words. That itself will encourage the devotees, very nicely. The first thing. Second, genuine glorification. So it's not that I have taken birth to purify all the devotees who are surrounding me by speaking or finding faults in them and in their service. No. If we can do some genuine glorification with whatever genuine service they have rendered, that will encourage the devotee, to move forward in spiritual life. And then seeing to it that we don't create or we don't become an obstacle in their progress in spiritual life. In whatever ways. There are many ways in which we can become obstacle in the devotee's life by our speech, by our actions, or whatever. So at least that much, we can make sure. And the best thing that we can do is we can pray for the devotee for their progress. Because what we cannot do, that Supreme Personality of Godhead will easily do it. So we can pray for that devotee, that please help so and so devotee to progress very nicely. We can pray to the Lord, look at his genuine service that he is rendering. Look at his wonderful qualities. Recently I was stuck in so and so problem. The devotee without any expectation helped me. So nice the devotee is, please help me. So that he can progress. So we can recommend the names of devotees to the Lord. So these are the few things that we can do. Anything else? We'll see in the future.
What aspects creating that enviousness in spiritual life?
What aspects?
That creating the enviousness in spiritual life.
What aspects will create enviousness in devotee association?
Yeah, spiritual activity, not the material.
Huh.
Materially, so many aspects are there. What are the aspects is creating in spiritual?
See, enviousness is an anartha, it's an unwanted thing, and it's on the material platform, no doubt. So, when we pull down the spiritual aspects on the material platform and start analyzing, at that time, this enviousness will come easily. Now, when so and so devotee is doing some service, we will pull that and start comparing the quantum of the service. See, in spiritual life, quantum of service does not matter. What matters is quality and not quantity. Obviously, whatever is needed, we have to render, we have to do the service. and achieve the quantity also as per expectation. But then the actual thing is the quantity doesn't matter much. Quality matters a lot. Because Krishna is Bhavagrahi Janardana, not quantity Grahi Janardana. Yes, he needs Bhava. He needs the quality of service that we are rendering. What is the mood with which we are rendering service? So when we start comparing ourselves with others in terms of quantum, in terms of quantity, that is basically what we are trying to do. Same thing what we do in the material world. He did this much, I did this much. So no, I should do more. Or
Here,
something like that.
every work is related to Krishna. Then where is the question? So,
The work is related to Krishna, but then our mood is not Krishna conscious. That is the problem. Every single activity is related to Krishna. It's meant for serving Krishna. But then our anarthas don't allow us to be Krishna conscious while doing those activities. Our anarthas will pull our consciousness down on the material platform. And even in that service which is meant to be done for Krishna, keeping Krishna in the center, we push Krishna that thoda sa, and we come in that center. That's what is the problem. When it comes to us as sadhakas, Buddha jivas. We push Krishna also aside, when we are rendering service to Krishna and keep ourselves in the center, thinking what will I get? And this will be on the subtle platform, especially for puja la pratishtha, for name, fame, prestige. This will be done. So the answer to your question is all the activities are spiritual, but our consciousness is not actually Krishna conscious. So all these problems will come. Then we'll become envious and what it. Okay, you all can share some points.
it's nice to hear about the activities of the Lord and the devotees, and we can see how glorious the devotees are completely taking surrender to the Lord, center of God. And it's difficult to comprehend, what are the activities they do. Like, yes, it's all glorious because they have the Lord within them and they can be able to do these kind of glorious activities. And in this way, the Lord is glorious and the devotees are also glorious. And even Bhagavatam speaks about it.
दीनबंधु प्रभु को दीजिए थोड़ा दीनबंधु प्रभु पूरा क्लास अच्छे से सुने आप
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So one most important thing is that whatever the quality or the greatness we are able to see in other devotees, just a spark of the splendor of the Lord. So if we can understand that, at that moment we can remember Krishna and no need to have enviousness of that person. So both the ways we can be advantageous. Another point, that bhakti is very powerful, and whenever we get some instructions from the spiritual master superiors, when we are not capable of doing it, but having that selfless and sincere desire to execute it, so Lord will empower us to execute the instructions. So like we have seen the example of Srila Prabhupada and his disciples also just going on. So having that sincere desire will help us to execute the instructions. So this is the quality which I want to take and relate to. Hare Krishna. Nice class.
I want to mention one point is like association of devotee will make the autopilot activities. It's a very nice point because sometimes also we are struggling for something in Ekadasi or something. But the association will come, we are able to do these activities. Nice. And another point is like without any empowerments from Krishna, we cannot do any bigger things. So Krishna's mercy is more important.
Thank you.
So very nice class. This point was very nice regarding competition. So we compete when there are when there is something, but many people are wanting that position or that post. So many people compete in the material world, but in spiritual world, everyone has a unique relationship with Krishna. So
So there is no point of competition and no point of being envious of another devotee. And thinking this, we can be peaceful in our spiritual life. Like that devotional service.
Okay, it's 9:30. We'll stop. Granthaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki,
Jai.
Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki.